too because it's a Christmas episode. Just saying.
Okay, wait for it. Well, Stabby was already talking, so you know we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters Blaze podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator who's apparently been hitting the sauce a little bit early, geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guest, Miss Madam Boncher, introduce herself to our listeners and viewers at home.
Okay, that would be Bam with a B, Boncher, wife of and a significant better half of M.D. Boncher, who is the author who has guested here before. Author of the Dream Nebula series and the Akinawazi saga.
All right.
Eventually, I will get something out myself when I have time.
And how we first found them, so like she mentioned, her husband, and otherwise known as her serf, is a frequent guest. So he decided to invite his feudal overlord to the show in his steed, and she agreed. So here we are. But because this is your first time on the show, you do have to answer the religion questions. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
All right. Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
Star Wars.
Excellent answer. No hesitation. We dig it. Nick, do you want to tell her what she's won?
A view of my little mini Rancho Obi-Wan that's here?
Sure. I mean, I thought you were going to say, hearts and minds or claps or something. I don't know. You could have.
Okay. It's from the original trilogy. I can live with it. I could be happy with
the Empire.
It. Yeah. Anything after Empire, basically anything after Last Jedi, Return of the Jedi, I'm not interested.
I don't know. Rogue One was really good.
I could tolerate episodes 1, 2, and 3, but
then it gets a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
And because we are polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blaze podcast, Game of Thrones, The Wheel of Time, or Chronicles of Narnia?
Narnia every time.
Oh, freaking standing. Excellent answer. Did you like the movie adaptations or just the purest on the books?
The first movie adaptation, yes. I wasn't a big fan of Prince Caspian, and I have not yet seen Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Okay. I have not either.
They're good.
I preferred the books just because that's where I found them as a kid. It's like when you read it, it's like nostalgia trip, but the movies weren't bad. I mean, I thought they did an okay job at.
I will say the focus on the family audio drama, I loved it. I would recommend that highly.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I do like audiobooks, so I'm sure I would like some of those audio dramas. I haven't dove into those yet.
Yeah, and they've got the entire series. Was it 7 books in the series? They have all 7 of them as a drama, not just as an audiobook. So they are really good. Much better than the Lord of the Rings BBC or the American version, which the American version is even worse. I do not recommend the Lord of the Rings ones.
Okay. And because one of the crying shames of adulthood is we stop asking the important question, Blasters of Blades podcast decided to bring it back. So what is your favorite dinosaur?
Probably a Tyrannosaurus.
Okay. Stabby, you said you had one specific holiday question you wanted to ask.
Yeah, because if we're doing a Christmas episode, which we are, we have to ask everybody what their favorite Christmas drink is.
Well, since I'm new actually to adult beverages, I have not really been drinking up to this point. I'm still exploring Christmas beverages, though I intend to try mulled wine. I found a recipe from Cedar Sanderson from Raconteur Press fame. She put a recipe up on her website, on her Substack a few days ago that I absolutely intend to try tomorrow.
I love me a good mulled wine. I'm currently drinking what we call the Grinch. Mm-hmm. So it's orange juice, champagne, a little bit of blue Caraco, and you're supposed to put edible glitter in it, but I'm not that fancy. And it turns your orange juice green like the Grinch.
So in our explorations this summer of various types of alcohol that I have attempted to try, I have found that I am a Jameson whiskey girl.
Dad a girl.
Yep. So if it's got,
oh my God.
If you can name me a Christmas drink that has got whiskey in it, I'm probably there.
We do hot toddies and we use Jameson whiskey in that. And then we also, I have a bad habit of using Jameson in my coffee and in my tea and in my eggnog. I'm a Jameson girl. That's how we celebrated our wedding. We ordered a bottle of Jameson for the table. But
And I have found that I'm a lover of Sazeracs, though I want to go heavier on the absinthe in a Sazerac than what typically is there.
yes.
So if you want to call that a Christmas drink, it's green, right? If I put in enough absinthe, it'll be green. So that makes it a Christmas drink.
Absolutely.
Okay. I guess for me, Christmas drink, I always go back to hot chocolate on Christmas. Although I also have coffee in the morning because, kids want to wake up, crack of dawn, and I ain't got time for that nonsense. So coffee it is.
I will admit I am an eggnog fan too. I mean, that was classic growing up. Was my mother would always go to. It was a sign Christmas was here when our local Kroger's grocery store started carrying their eggnog. Non-alcoholic. My family's teetotalers, so my mother would not dare to allow us to booze that up.
Oh, so this is because we're talking about where we will be airing this on Christmas Day. This is because it is that time of year. I do want you to please check on your grandmothers and make sure nothing happens to them, and avoid the reindeers.
Yes.
Nick, favorite holiday beverage?
Oh, like Stabby said, I like hot toddies. A hard, warm cider is also good.
Yes.
I do like a nice cup of cocoa with. I switch it up. I don't usually put whiskey in it. I'll put brandy in it. Brandy Alexander's. That's definitely a holiday tradition here. Good stuff.
Okay. All right. So lastly, the most important question. Because we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, we are no longer knuckle-dragging troglodytes. Coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
Both. I could take tea straight, sweet or unsweet, preferably sweet, of course, but I will drink it unsweet. Coffee must have sweetener and milk.
Acceptable. All right, Stabby, since it's that time of the year, what coffee brand coffee concoction have you been drinking? I'm still on my hot chocolate kick.
I'm back. No. I was yelling at the kid.
You probably deserved it.
Yeah. Actually, we just got our bag of coffee brand coffee Christmas themed frosted sugar cookie coffee. And OMG, I don't even need creamer in it. And we all know I love my creamers. But what I've been adding to it is the Nestle Toll House Coffee Mate to the sugar cookie coffee. And it's like drinking cookies. And it is so good. Santa would approve.
All right. I mean, we wouldn't want Santa to be mad. But all right. So do you guys have any special family traditions on your end, Bambo, for Christmas that you've had, from your family?
My family for years traditionally would on Christmas Eve evening, we'd kind of get together as a family, and my mother would always insist that my dad would read the Christmas story from the Bible, and then she'd always want to sing together a little bit. As we've grown up and spread apart, that tradition is not held as much as it used to be. But we still try to get together with mom at mom's. We would go visit my grandparents during the afternoon on Christmas Day, and then all presents were held until Christmas morning. One year though, we really did my sister in. Was my mother decided she wanted to wait until Christmas night, made her wait all day long. The sad part of it is my sister was about 28 at the time, and it about killed her to make her wait that long.
Okay. What about you, Stabby? We've talked about your guys' traditions in other episodes with your family as it currently stands. Did you have any as a kid?
I did. So my my great-grandmother would come, because I'm from Vegas, my great-grandmother would come down from Ogden, Utah and join us in Vegas. And since I was the only girl in my family, it was my job to help my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my mother cook. So I was in the kitchen and all the boys were watching football, but we would turn on our Christmas music and we would cook together. And my great-grandmother taught me how to make bourbon balls, which you cannot eat it in one bite. Just so everybody knows, like, you will get sick because there is a ridiculous amount of bourbon in each ball, in each little fudge ball. And you would get drunk off of those really quickly. And we would make anise cookies, which look like snowflake waffles, but really, really thin, almost like waffle cones, but they look like snowflakes, and they're made with anise seeds, and they are an old family tradition that I haven't made since I lost my great-grandmother, but I'm thinking about maybe starting again.
Do those have that special little iron you have to use to make those? Almost like a waffle iron? Yes.
Yes. I miss them so much, and I that was always something me and her did together, so I haven't done it in a while, and I think I need to bring it back into the family because nobody else does it.
I'm just picturing it now. You get pulled over. Have you been drinking today, ma'am? No, I only had chocolate.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, my brother, the year my older brother turned 21, he's like, I can finally have a bourbon ball. And I was like, don't eat the whole thing, because we tasted as we're going. I was younger than him, and I was in the kitchen like... and because we would taste it along the way, and I was like, do not put the whole ball, because they're about this big, like they're decent size, and I was like, do not put the whole ball in your mouth, and if you are, go in the backyard when you do it and let me film it. And he's like, I can do this, I'm tougher than you know. And still they kicked him out back, and he put the whole thing in his mouth. He got about 3 chews in before he was all so much.
She made the noise.
Oh, that's no fun.
Oh,
Did
yeah, you definitely get a Dewey for that one, I'm telling you.
Did you laugh at him for that one?
All the time. Because like I said, we would taste it in the kitchen as we went, and I was like almost 4 years younger than him, just under 4 years younger than him. And I'm like, how is it I'm perfectly fine and standing up and still making a turkey, and you can't even stand straight after one ball? That was great.
Nice. Nick, did you have any Christmas traditions from your childhood?
Yeah, we had a few. Like growing up, like my house was the house for the entire Garber clan to come to. So they would show up like a week before Christmas, and then I just knew that I wasn't sleeping in my bed till after New Year's. I'd be sleeping on the floor with my freaking cousins. Yeah, we had like, the night before Christmas, you got one present you could open on Christmas Eve, as long as it wasn't a big one. It had to be like, it changed from year to years. Like, okay, it has to be this size or whatever. Uncle's getting shit-faced in my kitchen, my dad's kitchen, not my kitchen, my dad's kitchen. I can't remember if it was Christmas Eve or day of Christmas, like Christmas night after dinner, we would read the night before Christmas. I think it was Christmas Eve because that makes more sense. He would read the night before Christmas. And we always had carolers that came around the neighborhood too. So like we'd gather around and watch them. It was very Dickens-esque almost, except I wasn't battling the plague or wearing really uncomfortable wool clothing. So yeah, I mean, like traditional Christmas traditions, I guess, we had.
We didn't have really anything special when it came to Christmas other than Grandma used to make her fudge. So did you have any memorable Christmases when you were in the Army, deployed, funny stories, anything like that? You are muted.
Do we want to traumatize the audience?
Yeah, probably. I don't know, because my story is like both times. I was leaving Missoula in right around Christmas. So
it's Christmas morning. Actually, it was Christmas morning, like 0300. Like Christmas Eve has passed. Santa was showing up, and we were in this place called OP Red. It was in the middle of our zone off route Red Wings. Yeah, Red Wings. So it took you from like Aldora Market all the way down to zone 66, where like they had big tank killer shit, and there was a little place called the Y. Well, the people that owned this house were bad guys supporting bad guys. So the Iraqi government took over their house and gave it to us. They're like, hey, here you go. You have this really nice Mediterranean Iraqi mansion that was 3 stories and a roof that we just loaded for bear. We had a 50 cal on there. We had an old M79 thumper. Like this thing was armed to the freaking teeth. We had good standoff distance tactically. And I'm on guard duty at night. Eve has an E6, you know, I was in a small team. So it's like, hey, go get some rack, man. I got this shift, you know, trying to do what a good leader does. Pat myself in the back here. And the day prior, I threatened to throw Geraldo Riviera off of the top of that fucking building.
he had a comment, I'm sure.
Yeah, and yeah, he didn't like it. And I said, you have 2 ways to leave my building. Either you can walk out or I can throw you over the edge here. And he decided to walk out. Lame. So it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, and someone is doing some probing fire at our position, shooting at the roof. And I was just like, you know, about the 3rd or 4th shot that wasn't anywhere close to me. It was just kind of pissing me off at this point. I'm like, either hit me or not, man. I got mad, and I told everybody that was on the roof that day. There was 6 of us. I'm like, unleash hell. They're like, Sean, what? I'm like, unleash hell. Somebody get on that Mark 19. We all got 50s and 240s up here on this roof. Unleash hell. Mow it all down. He's like, well, we don't have a target. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I'll stand on the carpet for this one. Let it rip. Let's go. So we did. We created fireworks Christmas morning and lit a whole date field on fire. It was awesome. You can't take me anywhere. That's true. If I have an opportunity to burn down forestry, I will take it. Every time.
So we landed in country in November 04, just in time to catch the tail end of Fallujah 2. So we did some support operations for the Marines, taking stuff to them through Fallujah to get to where they were. And so after all of that, like, because, you know, officially it ended in early December, but it didn't end till mid-December. So my platoon sergeant thought he was going to give us a cakewalk mission just to take a breather. So he sent us to Missoula, and we got there on December 21st, 2004. And we were in the DFAC when it went kablooey. So I told my platoon sergeant not to pick fun missions for me anymore. I think, you know, I didn't trust his picker no more. So we were leaving on Christmas Day. We were leaving Missoula to head to the rear. And then ironically, we were leaving Missoula Christmas 05 to head to the rear because we got back from Missoula on, I want to say December 23rd, boarded a plane, and we were home for Christmas in 05. So my 2 Iraq Christmases were in Missoula. 0 stars. Do not recommend. Don't do it. It's not fun. I mean, at least it broke the monotony because there were some mountains. You know, it wasn't like southern Iraq where it was all sand and flat. Yeah.
You got the hillside there that looks like the Central Valley of California.
Yeah, and there's that one route that you go up, and I can't even remember the route name, but I know there's one where it's like a 45-degree incline straight up through this desert road with like mountains on either side, and it's like the perfect ambush position.
Yeah, when you get in the North Country, it starts getting real hilly.
Yeah, and when we got to the top, there were the Iraqi National Police waiting for us with weapons pointed at us. I'm like, I'm glad these cops happen to be on our side because not all of them were.
Same team, dog. Same team.
right? Because when we got to the top, I'm like, if I was planning an ambush, this right here is where I'd do it. Like, and then you could like limit them. Like, you got the fatal funnel. Terrain is doing your favors.
You got routes of ingress and
it's like Thermopylae, but elevated, right? Like, it's a inverted location, but it's still the bottleneck.
I've been in Thermopylae. It is very elevated.
No, well, where the Thermopylae battle happened is actually in the sea now, so you have not, unless you're a diver, been to where the battle was fought.
Wait, why you gotta call me out like that on live television? The fuck?
Well, no, just like I realized when I was doing work for a book I'm writing or was writing with James, which I'm still working on. It's just a lot more research now.
You know what they did though over there? They carved out a small section and called it, "This is where the battle happened." Even though the actual geographical location is currently under the sea due to erosion and just how the earth works. But
right.
Them knowing a cash cow when they saw one, you got to see the Battle of 300, especially when 300 came out.
They actually moved the plaque that's underwater too. They sent divers to dig it up and move it.
Yeah, they relocated it.
Yep. Was it here obedient to Spartans' laws we lie? Of all who pass us by, know here obedient to Spartans' laws we lie? Something like that. Basically, like, hey, if you're passing us, know we did our job.
Yeah.
Death before dishonor in Greece, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so that was my 2 Christmases overseas. And ever since then, like, I've had this interesting relationship with Christmas holidays. You make the effort, but not necessarily my favorite time of year.
No, it mostly reminds me of intense fighting in a country that was not my home.
Yeah. Although it's also a time of celebration because a certain time ago, one of our forefathers, who was such a friend of the infantry that he put his face on dollar bills so we could support single mothers, one George Washington at a time, crossed the Delaware to kick some British butt. Well, technically Hessians, but, whatever. Who's counting?
I'll fight you.
They were working for the Brits, so.
Yeah, I mean, they were British by proxy, right?
Yep. Christmas is my favorite time of the year. I love the whole shebang. I love the music. I love the movies. Most of the movies. I get into the whole thing. I don't care about the commercialism. I love the whole season.
I do like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Like, I could listen to that year round. That's just good classic music.
Especially their Christmas Eve in Sarajevo is always one of my top favorites. And then their Mad Russians Christmas, which is their take on Tchaikovsky, is good.
Isn't Sarajevo is a tumultuous place. I don't understand. Like, is there a siege of Sarajevo? Sarajevo happened there during the Bosnian War. So it always amuses me to hear like that festive song named after a place where a lot of darkness happened.
Yes.
A lot of death happened there.
Yeah, I mean, like the Bosnian area was not. I mean, it's been tumultuous for years. I mean, they've been fighting each other since they had sticks and stones back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra just because I like classical music.
I'm sorry. The Trans-Siberian Orchestra is not just classical music. They use classical music, but they throw a flair on it that is just amazing.
They jazzify it.
Yes.
I think is the way I would describe it.
They ramp it up, bro.
Yeah, and I like them better than Mannheim Steamroller.
I mean, they're good too. I like them.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Mannheim Steamroller.
What?
They're good.
I'm not. They're okay, but I'm not. MD likes them. He prefers them, but they're not my sound.
Okay.
Then again, I'm also my favorite. Yeah, my favorites is going back to the 1950s and give me Percy Faith and Henry Mancini, even some Mantovani for Christmas.
So when it comes to your husband, MD, and me and Stabby have talked about this profusely since we are revisiting the Supernatural series.
Okay.
Does anybody else see a resemblance between him and Donatello the Prophet?
Since I have not watched anything beyond season 3 of the Supernatural TV series, I can't speak for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go a little bit. You're gonna have to go deeper. You're gonna have to go to like season. When did he show up? Like season 10?
I think so.
Season 9, somewhere around there. But like exact replica. Even his mannerisms and vocal cadence. I'm like,
This dude's about to tell us the word of God.
Well, he does sort of do it through his Akenawazi Saga series. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm convinced that he is Donatello from that show. And nobody can tell me different. Yeah, see? Well, that's not a really good picture of Donatello.
Yeah, because MG doesn't have nearly that much hair.
It's when he's doing this face.
Yeah, that's where it is, right there.
Okay, but yeah, I dig the music though. That's kind of cool, and I always get a little bit of a chuckle out of some of the very religious music that is taken from pagan and bar songs, and then they use the melodies and they rewrite them. Just knowing the roots of various music has always amused me. I mean, obviously people do that all the time. Most of the songs that we would consider ancient were already old then, and they, we liberally steal from our friends. But I just some of the roots of some of those songs, just like if you study the history of the music, is fascinating.
A lot of it too was because people back then they couldn't read music, and so they would in order for them to know the song, they would just take, okay, you guys are familiar with this song, we'll just change the words and go on. Yeah, that happened a lot in church songs too.
Well, they couldn't read in general, so I mean that was always a thing. So it's basically, whatever the monk at the time wanted to spell it. That's kind of what it was. So you could get 3 spellings of the same name just because of that. But anyway, all right, we've waxed poetic enough. I feel like it's time to play this beautiful bean footage, and then we could jump into talking about the movie. Oh, hold on, let me move this around. They rearranged the StreamYard, so I have to find everything again. All right, and we are going to air that beautiful commercial.
Ho, ho! Oh, hell. Is that sleigh bells ringing in your ears or a few rounds from an M60? You wanted the jolly fat man to bring Yuletide joy, but the season has gifted you with a heartbreaker and a life taker. Badass Santa. Grab your eggnog and camouflage candy canes. Strap on your bulletproof holiday stockings and prepare for thrills and kills. From blood-stained rebellion at the North Pole to a Black Ops raid on a distant planet, these 18 action-packed tales will show you Saint Nick as you have never seen him before. It's all you'll want for Christmas.
All right, welcome back, and thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. With that, I feel like this is actually the most appropriate commercial we could have picked, although it's the only Christmas one we've got, so we've been using it for this particular movie, given what this movie is. So let's tell you that. So obviously, if you read the title of this episode, we are going to be talking about the movie Red One. It was directed by Jake Kasdan with a budget cost of $250 million. With a box office of $180.9 million. So it did not make money yet, but it only released this year. So there's time. A duration of 123 minutes, It was released November 5th, 2024 in the UK and Ireland, and November 15th in the US, and distributed by Amazon MGM Studios and Warner Brothers Productions. Woof. All right. And so this movie, ad copy. All right. After Santa Claus is kidnapped, the North Pole's head of security must team up with notorious hacker in a globe-trotting, action-packed mission to save Christmas. Dun, dun, dun. Does that blurb work for everybody?
That works.
It
Though
does.
I will say it also
undersells
debuted. Yeah, it also debuted #1 on Amazon Prime as well. When the first night that it's #1 on Amazon Prime right now.
They won twice, brother.
Yeah,
they won twice.
Sister.
Because we watched on Amazon Prime. We were waiting for it to come out because going to the movies is like $100 affair for a family of 3. And we're like, it looks good. I want to see it. Don't get me wrong. I want to see it. But I'll wait for streaming because
I did go to the theater, but I went at 12:30 and got the matinee price on a Monday.
Oh, the super secret discount,
Yes.
the 12/30 Monday discount.
Yes. So I would actually be willing to go back and watch that one again if I could. I've just about got MD convinced, but we will see.
I kind of want to see it in the theater. I want to see it on the big screen because it was good. It had a perfect, like you haven't seen this Christmas action thriller since Die Hard, you know.
Yeah.
So
Jingle All the Way was good.
Jingle All the Way. Yeah. No.
Which is the one with Schwarzenegger trying to get the toy?
Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way.
And Sinbad.
That was a good one.
Horrible.
Him
I will say-
fighting for the toy in the store was it.
I will say it's fun watching Krampus, especially at the end when he shows up at the end on the big screen.
Oh,
that
was
is
so cool.
that is the best on the big screen. Yes.
He slapped the shit out of me.
You slapped the shit out of me. So good.
So,
We laughed so hard at that.
okay. I don't tend to do movie theaters, partly because it costs and partly because I don't like crowds. And it's just, I've gotten spoiled because, when I got to stop the bath, to go to the bathroom, to get a new drink, whatever.
Just
It's convenient, right? And so, I'm just not a big fan of the movie. And you don't got to worry about sitting behind anybody with a big head that talks too much, right? So,
this next one.
yeah.
MD and I live in a location that's rural, so the theaters are never really that packed. It's not usually that bad of experience. I can imagine in a larger town, it would be less fun than it is. We usually get the pick of our seats in our local theater, and it's a fun thing for us to do together. But we do try to hit those matinee deals.
See, we live in a rural area too, so it takes about 45 minutes to get to the nearest grocery store from where we live. But they put the movie theater right next to a high school.
Oh, yuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, our local theater is it's 25 minutes away, right across from the Walmart, but it's not too hard to get to, and it's that one's better priced. But if we want to go to a bigger theater, there's a 14-plex about 45 minutes to an hour away, but it's a college town, and it's one of those places where the location of the theater isn't bad, but it's not really a town you like being in after dark.
I feel you.
So yeah, we will go once in a while to that one, but we tend to try to stick with the local one better. It's a little less congested and less colorful people in the parking lot.
Marvin the meth head.
That's
Yes.
Marvin the meth head.
Yes.
All right. So, Nick.
Marvin's cool.
It's just his cousin Cletus is a little bit sketch.
It might be the murder hobo.
The murder hobo.
The murder hobo.
Look,
I'm sorry,
I just know if I pop out my bourbon and I share it with the murder hobo, he gets along with me just fine.
All of our listeners at home, it's me. I'm the murder hobo. Jesus Christ.
All right, Nick, can you show the the trailer for us?
Absolutely. And in 3, 2, get it ready. Get it ready. It's not on the screen yet. What are you doing? Why the hell? There we go. You ready?
Yes.
Get on there. Here we go.
499, 500.
Let's go heavy. Yeah, got it. Looking strong, Nick.
Go on, brush your shoulders off.
Red one is on the move.
Evening, ladies. What are you so excited about? Of course, your boyfriend's here. Okay. Who's with Red?
Breach! Someone took Nick. We're gonna find him.
I'm bringing in Jack O'Malley. He's probably the best tracker in the world.
The guy's a legend.
What am I doing here?
Last night, Red One, also known as St. Nicholas of Myra, was abducted from the North Pole complex.
Are you saying Santa Claus has been kidnapped?
Garcia?
What the hell?
You can't trust this guy. He's on the list.
You don't
on the
guess.
list.
That list. NL4.
Are you telling me this clown is a level 4 naughty lister? A level 4 naughty lister?
Oh, is that funny to you?
You're gonna help us find Nick.
Come on, let's go. Grab a car.
For what? You don't have a Wonder Woman action figure, do you?
It's not how it works. Come on. There is much in here that is not of the natural world.
Who's that?
Krampus.
What are they doing?
They're playing crappish slop.
I think if you don't need me here, I might just go back to the car.
We need to prepare for the possibility of no Christmas.
There's worse ways to go out than trying to save Santa Claus.
We got snowmen!
That was so disturbing.
Interesting.
My turn! Oh my god. Is my face still there?
Yeah, you look good.
All right. Does that sell it for you, everybody? I was convinced.
Yeah. When I first saw the trailer, I think it was on. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. TV. I definitely wanted to see it because who doesn't love the freaking Rock or J.K. Simmons, who's just badass in everything he does. That's the most badass Santa I've ever seen, other than the one that we wrote. So, yeah.
I saw it. I was interested. I waited. Nowadays, I don't trust trailers because I've been burned too many times by a movie that looks like it'd be awesome in the trailer, and then it turns out the trailer was the only part of the movie that was actually awesome. But that one had my interest, so I waited till it came out, waited for some reviews to come out, and said, "Okay, it's getting likes, so I'll bite the bullet and go try it." And thankfully, it did not. This is not one of those movies that sucks. The trailer is it. This is a good one all the way through.
And like we've said before, like the modern trailers, some of the older trailers undersold the movie and didn't do any service. This one I felt like was good as far as it goes.
Well, they set it up. It's an action adventure movie set during the holidays. Got Chris Evans. People still swoon over him from Captain America. So, they did it right with that trailer.
Yeah, and they just had fun with it. There was, it wasn't sitting here trying to push a particular agenda one way or the other. It was just, let's just have fun with this movie. So I guess I will say that it does earn its PG-13 rating through language. So for parents who have really young children, yeah, this is, I tell people, the violence is on par with like 80s movies. The violence wise, it was not any worse than Goonies, but language wise, if you're sensitive to that, frankly, I don't think that's anything different than what kids are going to hear walking through the local Walmart anymore. But that is a concern that parents should keep in mind. It's PG-13 for a reason, and that the language, I think, is primarily it.
Speaking of Walmart, just a little PSA. When you're walking through Walmart and you're having a private conversation on your cell phone, because you're on your cell phone and you're just talking to your friend, that doesn't mean no one else can hear you. So maybe keep that crap to yourself. We don't need to know that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but if these are the same parents that took their kids to see Deadpool and Wolverine, you're fine.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but there are other parents that I have run into that have been very concerned about subject to things like that. So I said, okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You got to know your own kid and what your kid can handle.
Absolutely. Yeah. My monster, he came out of his room earlier and he's like, "There's this new movie on Disney Plus, Mom, and it's PG-13." I'm like, "Boy, you have 2 days until you turn 15. What do you think?" And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, "I let you watch Nightmare on Elm Street, bro." Go watch
At the same time,
movie.
I know parents who have 12-year-olds that they won't let watch Neverending Story. So I know the opposite string. Now, my brother has no problems letting his at the time 4-year-old daughter watch Tim Burton, Nightmare Before Christmas, and she's 5 now, and that's one of her favorite movies. But yeah, it can depend, because then there's other times that she'll watch Scooby-Doo and get a little scared depending on what episode it is. So
I honestly, I do have to say I was blessed when it comes to the whole movie thing, because I want to say he was 4 or 5, and I was watching Friday the 13th, and he walks into the living room and he's like, "What you watching?" And I'm just sitting there looking at the screen like, a scary movie. And he's like, "Can I watch with you?" And I'm like,
There's titties.
If you get scared, will you tell me? And he's like, "Yeah." And we watched the whole movie, and he's like, "Is there a number 2?" And I was like, "Yep, blessed." It's just no fear.
I cannot take horror movies, but when it comes to action scenes and certain levels, I was a child of the 80s. So I was the prime target for movies like the original Land Before Time, the original American Tale, and I was myself, I could starkly remember being shown The Last Unicorn when I was about 8.
So this is the speaking of the action, let's start talking about the movie. So this is the movie poster, which I thought was kind of badass. I dig it. I liked the action with the indomitable snowmen. I thought that was pretty awesome.
They were cool. They were really cool.
I loved Garcia. Garcia was the best.
I loved Krampus.
Oh, I adored Krampus. The whole Krampus thing. I especially loved the rubber chicken being turned into a real chicken to distract the hellhounds.
The distraction chicken.
Deploy tactical chickens.
Yes.
And the Christmas witch was cool too. I liked that angle.
You can't say her name.
Kieran, Shipka, and Gryla.
Yeah. It was a great way of introducing people to certain traditions in other countries that come with Christmas, and the whole tying in Krampus to Grandpa. And the movie had a lot of good to it. It's like the whole for parents who they got to have a moral to the story. It had some great morals. It had a great moral about being family and the importance of family. It had a great moral about taking responsibility for yourself. If you're on the naughty list, it's because you put yourself there. Because, buddy, you choose what you do. So I'll give the parental PSA there, even though I have no kids. There you go.
That was the key dynamic for the movie, is because we're dealing with Cal. Cal's really the main character, and he lost his way to be able to see the goodness in people. Mm-hmm. He would just see the naughty, and I get that. Humanity sucks. We as human beings absolutely frickin' suck. Not one of us should be on the nice list. But then you have Santa, you have J.K. Simmons' character, who's just yoked out of his freaking mind. Holy shit. I'm having a pseudo homosexual experience with him. Super awesome dude. And really well fit. And he's like, now let's go heavy. I'm like, dude, my pec's already hurt. Like, I don't want to see this anymore. But, so you have this interaction between Santa and Cal. So I'm like, hey, you lost your sight, man. Like, I get it. Because Cal wants to leave the Santa Secret Service. He doesn't want to be commander anymore. And so really it's just kind of like that type of refinding yourself tale, which anybody that's seen this is going to be like, just they're going to identify it. Like, I lost my way. And then by the end of it, you have that conclusion where he finds his way and he's able to do what he wants to do, and he's able to do what he used to do, and he's able to find happiness in what he does. Yeah. So it's a very heartwarming tale, even though there's some really awesome action adventure elements to it. And Chris Evans, awesome. He's awesome in everything. He's a good actor, and his facial expressions always sell it, So you get comedic moments there when he doesn't say a word. It's his face. He's up there with Ryan Reynolds. That's why these guys are probably, they're at the top of this game right now.
All right, so let's speak about the action since we did hint at that briefly. So, what did you guys think with the unique take on the Rock's character being able to change sizes? Now, they kind of foreshadowed that when he was able to change the reality of the car and turn the car into something he could drive, which I'm like, dude, that is so cool. He did the same thing with the little toy rubber ducky that he turned real and to distract the hellhounds. But when he used
chicken,
yeah, when he used it with the fighting the Indomitable Snowman. I thought that was kind of cool. I've never seen something like that in an action movie, and I really enjoyed it.
What? Do I look like a human?
Oh God! It was like someone took like the best elements out of the Ant-Man movies and brought them into a Christmas movie. You know, and then it all makes sense because later on you see how a Kringle is able to do what he does.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I appreciate this movie. They follow through. It's like if something shows up in one movie, they actually fulfill later in the movie, such as grabbing the Rock and Sock'em robots. Later they show up. You know, he makes it bigger. Grabbing the rubber chicken keychain, then you see why. You know, it's nice that they actually followed through. I felt like the action was tight too. I mean, it's full. It's your typical CGI spectacle, but I don't. The movie, I felt they had the heart of the movie, and it told a good story. It wasn't just spectacle without a good story. It had a good story to it as well. So it made the CGI believable. There's a lot of movies out there with the CGI it's like the movie was just sit here to showcase CGI, and the story itself is boring, which kind of ruins the whole effect. In this case, the CGI actually did benefit the story, and the story was there.
Speaking of story, what did you think of the action scenes, Stabby? You've got on mute.
No, I had a good time with it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious when he got small, big, and he's like, "Do I look human to you?" And Chris Evans is just sitting there blinking at him like, I don't know how to answer this question. I feel like no matter what I say, it's going to be wrong. And I love that so much. And I think you see it throughout the whole movie even if it's not action in the sense that they're fighting, there's something going on. There's something fun going on. And later in the film, when the Christmas witch is, you know, trying to leave with the snow globes, and Krampus does show up, she turns into the big monster. She starts slinging him around, and he's like, ha, just like old times. And I'm like, he can't even take that moment.
and I loved Krampus. I loved Krampus. I loved his whole domain, the way it was set up, and I dearly love what he's flying on, and that whole the skull heads that are sitting there fiery and singing.
Yeah, that like Rob Zombie-esque drag racer. You know, it's super cool.
And the whole relationship between Krampus and Santa is fantastic because they really do act like family.
Oh yeah, it was so sellable. It was like so believable that they were brothers. You know, one way or the other. You know, it's like, hey,
and I enjoyed that they had the whole portal system set up through toy stores, so that you could just go to the store.
I thought that was super cool.
Yeah,
because that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That totally makes sense because elves are not making like super sophisticated freaking toys right now.
And I did have fun with the fact that supposedly the government's in on it. So, you know, Santa was being escorted by, what was that? Fighter jets.
Two Raptors. Yeah, two F-18 Raptors. Or not F-18s, but Raptors. You know what I'm talking about. Like, that was cool as shit. You know, so he's taking off in the beginning. He's got Raptor support. So, like, the government's in on it. All governments are probably in on it. I just thought it really...
Yeah, then he presses the button and he just leaves them in the dust.
I like the...
the whole holding space part that he does with the reindeers. That was cool.
One of the things I really liked was the some of the weapons and the tech that they used. So, like, it opens when they're looking for Jack O'Malley, because he's the hacker known, I think, was it the Wolf?
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, the Wolf.
And so, as a hacker, like, he finds the stuff. And you open to see what a bad guy is in the opening scene. He literally steals candy from a baby, like not figuratively,
literally.
Literally steals
candy from a baby.
So, like, you're already but it also sets the tone that this is kind of comical. It's not like too serious because it leans so hard into it that you like. It's very obvious it's not taking itself seriously.
Right.
But when he's go ahead.
You knew that from the beginning because they're in the mall, and she's like, "I brought you cookies," and he's like sniffing it, and you're just like, "What is he doing?" And then they throw the hot dog at him, and he catches it and he sniffs that too before he hands it over to Santa. So you know that it's going to be funny because just in the first 15 minutes, you're watching The Rock sniff all this food.
They did a really good job at establishing lore and like history. I thought.
But one of the things they did was when you have the first fight scene with Jack O'Malley versus the agents of, I'm drawing a blank on what that organization was.
Something myth. Something.
Yeah,
myth.
It was. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, MORA, a Mythical Oversight and Restoration Authority. MORA, MORA. No, I didn't remember it. I cheated and Googled it. But so he's fighting the MORA agents, and they've got these stun guns that essentially freeze the person in time, which is like, okay, now you like it's the holiday traditions, right? Like, of course, that's how they do the things. And it leans back to like when we watched the Prep and Landing last Christmas and all the like those kinds of tech answers to the solution of what happens if the kids wake up. And when they're fighting him, Jack's character doesn't miss a beat. He freaking is like kicking butt and taking names, even though he has no idea what this tech does. He's just so intuitive on his, martial prowess that he's still able to beat the superiorly armed, assaultants, I guess, attackers. And it really set him up as the kind of character that he is because he's taking on these threats and he's not missing a beat.
And I like how they had that handled, that special little weapon they have that it's like it would freeze time. They would just kind of stop moving.
Yeah, I like that weapon too. And so
another thing that we definitely need to touch base on is Bonnie Hunt as Mrs. Claus.
Well, we're going to talk about characters next, so let's start with Miss Claus.
Like, even when he's like, because there's the shapeshifters, and he's like, so, Miss C, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm making cookies. I can't do anything else. And he's like, oh yeah, what kind of cookies? And he's like, I'm making her macaroons. And he goes, oh, he'll love that, and hangs up. And he goes, that's not Mrs. C, because Santa or Nick hates macaroons. And it was like, and they come back to it later.
Yeah,
they come back to it later when Santa's delivering everything and snatching cookies, and he snatches the macaroon, and you see him slide it back onto the plate with one finger. Like, nope.
Well, they talked about that earlier in the movie that he didn't like macaroons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I was talking about. I like how they follow through. They set something up and they actually deliver later on because they bring it back.
I really like the reindeers. They were like massive, and like he's totally tossing them whole Philly cheesesteaks, and they're like looking at it like it's just a ladyfinger. It's so small to them. I thought that was awesome.
Well, and here's the thing: like most Santa Claus movies, when they use reindeer, they're using white-tailed deer, which are not big. They're not anywhere close to a northern Icelandic reindeer. Actual reindeers are freaking huge; like they're almost moose size. So I liked how they depict that in the film too. That and the glowing antlers was like really cool, which also says like. All of his reindeer are female, despite their names, because males usually shed their stuff before the winter. Female reindeers keep their antlers. Through that time.
I think there was.
It was really cool.
Yeah. There was one thin spot in the story that I did say that kind of it was a thin idea. It took us all the way to the end of the movie for Cal to remember that the magic in Christmastown wouldn't be holding Christmastown together if Santa wasn't still there.
Right.
And I go, so we wait till we get to the very end of the movie after you've run around the world trying to find information on where Santa may have been, and it just dawns on you then, oh, he must still be in the town because the magic is still there.
And this fool is still there in Santa's village.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, well, no, but if you think about it,
there.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a plot hole, because if you think about it, this is such a rare occasion that, like, in theory they've talked about it, but it's never happened in practice, so everything is theoretical, right? Like the fact that they miss the obvious in times like that doesn't really bother me.
He went full ADHD brain. He's like, we gotta find him everywhere, and then forgot why he walked into the room until later, and the light bulb clicks on, and he goes, "Wait a minute." Oh,
yeah. And I do think Gryla was an excellent villain. She was intelligent. She wasn't a girl boss, but she was intelligent, and that's one thing I appreciate. And that is one thing I appreciate about this movie more than I think the number one thing I appreciate this movie with The Bullet. It does not have a girl boss. Right. It lets guys be the heroes.
Well, and even when but they show her as like super powerful, because you look at her henchmen, which are her kids, but like they're definitely afraid of her, and she's this little tiny blonde petite thing. And then of course you realize she's a shapeshifter, and you see her final form when she's batting around Krampus, and he's like, "I've missed this." Like she was
an excellent villain. She was intelligent. She was smart, especially when she figured out how to go after the kid and locking them into the snow globes to use him as bait.
But it's more than that. She's trying to do good things by doing them in bad ways.
Yeah.
So even when you like realize she's being evil or naughty or whatever, like you still kind of sympathize with her because she just wants people to be better.
Yeah, right? that's the thing about yeah. I mean, she was trying to go for the same thing.
As the hero.
Yeah, she was trying to do the same things of Santa did, but she was trying to do it through force. Where Santa recognizes that you can't force people to be good. You've got to try to inspire them to be good of their own free will. It was a really a big story on free will. Santa permitted free will, even though he knew people were going to do bad things, could do bad things with it. He wanted to allow free will and try to encourage to be good, whereas Gryla and Krampus were more of, well, we're going to force you to do what we want you to do.
Right.
And they found it doesn't work.
And there's some Christian themes in there too.
Yeah.
There's some.
I mean, that's a biggie one. That's a biggie one right there. The whole concept of free will, and then like you mentioned previously, the whole concept of if we went strictly by what we did, our actions, everybody should be on the naughty list. That was another one, but Santa chose to look beyond that. Yeah, Santa chose to look beyond that to look at the good that a person did and to encourage them to be good. I mean, there's a lot of good themes in this movie.
I'm on the naughty list.
So one of the things I did like is obviously we talked about the plot. You saw it as a plot hole. For me, it worked just because when people are panicking, they don't necessarily think logically. So like you've got an easy out for me on that one, because this would have been the first time something like this had happened. I do like that the insurgents that took and kidnapped St. Nick, they used misdirection. So look at us over here making noise, going in while we do our thing over here. Like at one point in time, that's what the special boat units in the Navy did. They went over, they dropped the SEALs off, and then they went the other direction and made a lot of noise and became the distraction. This is before, helo insertions. And that kind of tactic, I mean, that's where the first gun truck came in World War II and then in Korea. You put quad-mounted 30 caliber machine guns on the back of a Jeep, and you go behind enemy lines and you make a lot of noise. And while they're looking at you, they're not noticing what's happening over here. So that misdirection is classic tactics. And I like that they factored that in. It was plausible, like, for someone who thinks tactically. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes total sense to me.
Yeah, that they were intelligent villains, and I like how they had to stop and think. Just because your buddy runs up to help you, because they realize that the whole family are shapeshifters. So is this a good guy? Is this? And had to think about how do you confirm that this really is the person you think it is? Like the macaroons thing, the slip up that was made with the macaroons thing with Mrs. Claus. The only way to know that wasn't really Mrs. Claus. And I believe that happened again later, didn't it? To confirm one of the other.
Yes, it happened to be one of the elves who was guard duty. and it turned out to be one of the brothers or sons. I also like the scene they did where they go into Krampus's lair after the duck chases away the hellhounds. And there's this chest full of just ancient gold. And Jack O'Malley does a Jack O'Malley, and he's like, let me get rich quick, and here, slip a coin in my pocket. But of course, it's Krampus, and it's his freaking lair. And of course that's not going to work. And so he ends up in jail, and he's like, it could have happened to anyone. And you get the lecture from The Rock about making choices. And I thought that was both funny and wholesome at the same time.
Yeah. And it's a way they really did a good job of pointing in right directions without hammering you on it. It's built, it was woven into the story. It made sense. You weren't sitting there feeling like you were getting preached at, like some movies can do. It was just, but it pointed to some good things. Like I said, it had some really good themes to it. And it was just a fun movie. When I made a comment, I didn't write a full article on it on my Substack about it, but I did comment in notes about it. And I go, don't walk into this movie with perceptions of taking itself seriously. This is meant to be fun. This is a popcorn flick. It's not meant to be taken serious. It's not meant to try to.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's just meant to have fun. So just roll with it.
So, what did you think, Nick, of this comparison of Krampus, given that we just watched the other Krampus? The two different versions of Krampus. I liked this one for the fun aspect, and I liked the way he looked. But for the personality, I like the evil one from the other movie.
Oh, I mean, like when you watch the movie Krampus, it's not a holiday flick; it's a horror holiday flick. So that's what you're watching for. You're looking for terror.
Even with the terror angle, I like the way it's modern effects versus when Krampus came out, but I like the way they portrayed him physically.
Right. And that's all based off Norwegian myth or lore, whatever you want to call it. But we get that here too. We get the horned figure, a devilish looking figure with like cloven hoofs and slap fights, apparently. Big fan of that.
You get a kick out of this, Nick. Irony of all ironies. When I was looking for the trailer, like obviously you can't trust videos on YouTube. If I'm going to share it on our platform, I pre-screen it.
Oh God, no.
There is the chance sometimes you get a jump scare and it's not what it says it is. And obviously I'm not. I don't want to show stuff that's going to be inappropriate and get our channel strike. So the commercial for the trailer of Red One that we shared when I first vetted it was the advertisement that Rumble is finally getting the slap fight channel. Given the slap fight was the game in Krampus.
Nice.
Like, yes,
I love it.
But I thought that was such a cool game. Like it just with the way they did it, like it was just it was a fun way to Vikings. They were Vikings.
Yeah,
they were, and it was like they didn't want to hurt each other because like there's strength in numbers. You don't want to kill your brothers, when you go to war. So like obviously you're going to find another alternative to show feats of strength. I get it.
And settle disputes.
It's some drunk 3 a.m. in the barracks bullshit. I get it. It's like, hey, let's just slap the shit out of each other. Okay, cool. Oh, wait. And then you have some special, like, maybe we should have mouth guards so we don't hurt each other. Okay, fine. Next thing you delay it a week, you order mouth guards, or you go to the PX, you get mouth guards, whatever. So... Like, I really enjoyed that scene, too, especially when he's like, you slapped the shit out of me, man.
Oh, and the use of the shrink ray, essentially, like the size ray that he's got, was so freaking cool.
Yeah, he's dropping down, and then he's punching out. It was very Ant-Man-esque.
But the cool thing is...
physics were the same.
In that scene... It's very obvious that even the ones that look like they maybe could, they very obviously are not trying to win with Krampus because they don't want him to kill them. And, even though in theory, it's like when people would joust the king and he's supposedly in secret with the black unmarked armor, they know it's him. So you can't kill him because,
you don't do that. You don't challenge the king. You
make a show of losing gracefully. So it looks like he's a badass.
Yes.
And so when Cal suddenly jumps at the second time he goes to slap fight, he suddenly jumps in size and wails on Krampus, and everyone's like, wait, did he just do that? That was awesome. The scenes.
Yeah.
Honey.
Yellow. Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yep.
All right,
And then
Stabby.
the of course the desperate race to get out of there without getting captured by recaptured by Krampus's men. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
then and I will have to say that I was a fan of the Dodge Ram pickup just because I'm a Ram girl. That's my ride. So
yeah. I also like the pacing. I felt like there was enough action, there was enough lulls for humor. Like I thought the pacing worked for me. So I've got no complaints there. What about you, Bambo?
yeah, the pacing was good. It didn't drag in certain places. You didn't start feeling like, is this movie ever going to get over? It had a good amount of hectic, frantic action, and then take a bit of a breather, and then move into it. And it hit the beats. It had a good pacing in that direction.
Yeah. So I was satisfied with the pacing. What about you, Nick? Do we miss anything? You got to unmute, buddy. All right. Well, it looks like he's having some technical difficulties.
Yeah. I think the one thing I do wish is that I don't feel that I don't feel like it earned a PG-13 rating through the violence in the movie, because I really don't feel like it was anything worse than what you see in a typical. You could take a kid as young as 10 to see this. The language is the only thing, and I would kind of wish they had toned it down just a bit so you could get that rating down enough to get some younger audiences in. I think some of your younger kids could enjoy this. Yeah. I have heard complaints that say they're not really sure what audience they thought that they were aiming for, because it wasn't by having it PG-13, it makes it a little hard to make it a full-on family flick.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed the pacing. Overall, Nick, what did you guys think of the movie? And I know you're speaking for Stabby since you guys watched it together and her computer crashed, but did you guys like the overall final product of this one?
We did. It's earned itself a place in our holiday traditions, along with Spirited, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So it's earned a spot. It's a good movie. We enjoyed watching it. It has a good message. So, we're here for it.
Yeah, this is what I'll actually be buying the DVD for this one when it comes out, or rather, I guess nowadays the Blu-ray. But yeah, this is one that I would add. Yeah, this is what I will add to my physical library.
Me too. I really enjoy this one. So was there anything overall that, like, if they were going to do a sequel, obviously there's just came out, so there's no sequel yet. If they were going to do anything for a sequel, where could you think of any ideas where the plot could go before we wrap this up?
I guess it depends on if they want to stick strictly with it being a Christmas movie, or if they want to move on. If you want to stick with a Christmas movie, there's always Jack Frost. If they want to go with lore that we already know, of course, Frosty. If they want to move into some more obscure stuff, anybody remember that old song called Susie Snowflake? They could pull something like that out. If they want to go into just stick with the straight up myths, there's always the Easter Bunny.
Well, they actually showed the Easter Bunny, the Headless Horseman, Jack Lantern. Was it the Jack Lantern? That's a horror thing. I can't remember what the lore on that one is.
It's Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, there's lots of mythical stuff. So they could get Mora back for the mythical, whatever that was. They could get that back for a lot of things.
Yeah, but if they wanted to stick strictly with Christmas, you could always do Jack Frost. You could do. There's a lot of legends up from Russia, and if you want to stick at that level, you even come further south into the Baltic region and find the Greek legends, because Santa Claus has been a European legend for years, and there's been different other things that have spread.
Yeah, I would like to see a part 2 just because I really enjoyed the concept and the world was fun. And it inspired me to plot out my next Santa anthology story that Nick and I have to write that will come out in 2025. We have to decide whether we want to continue the story we wrote or tell a new one. After watching this one, I don't know. I got so many ideas running around. We could involve Krampus. It would be awesome. Nick, you're muted.
I said, if you get enough whiskey in me, we will figure it out. We'll come up with some really cool stuff. I call it the Hemingway approach because he was drunk just like me. So he'd get drunk, write really cool stories. So like the guy's a legend. I love his work. So I followed that approach. And truth be told, it works.
Okay. Stabby, right when you blurbed, when you crashed out, overall, what were your thoughts before we wrap this up?
Go watch the movie. I'm gonna have to watch it again before Christmas season is over because it's just too much goodness. And I'm the person that I'll watch it the first time and then I have to go watch it again to see what I didn't notice about it, and then I can kind of pick little things in the background that's like, oh, I didn't even notice that before. So I need to go back and watch it again before the Christmas season's over. But yeah, that's my take on it. Go watch this. It's awesome. I actually told my sister that this morning. I was like, you need to watch Red One. You need to.
Nice. So, Nick, are you ready for your Nick Fu answers reviews? Or did you prep for this one yet? We got to make that a thing in 2025, Nick. We'll be better prepared.
Yeah, you got to let me know so I can prepare the drive-in answers because that's who I'm stealing it from. I'm stealing it from Billy Bob Biggs. Joe Bob Biggs.
All right, so
Briggs.
coming to
Jesus
season
Christ,
5.
honey.
Coming
All
to
right,
season
so
5.
we got size foo, we got giant foo, we got little foo, we got Nick foo. No canoodling whatsoever. No canoodling. Shit. Right now. Like,
And now this episode is rated PG-13 as well. All right. So this is the part of the interview.
You gotta let me know so I can write this stuff down so I can rehearse it because I take my tradecraft very
Okay, I will
seriously.
remind you next time. We will make this a thing. All right, this is the part of the interview, dear listener, dear reviewer, dear person at home on your holiday Christmas day, Wonder Woman Foo. This is the part where I remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers and watchers and viewers and all the things find the right products. That really does matter. And it helps promote things in the algorithm if you're buying it digitally. So overall, you do you. And you help share and spread the word, and we build communities this way. We build fandoms, and pretty soon Nick's going to be dressing as the Indomitable Snowman at Comic-Con. That's how this rolls. Just don't do anything weird with that carrot. Don't do anything weird with the carrot. I wonder if you could feed the carrot to the reindeer. Then what happens?
Stop.
Stabby, it could be a horror movie. You feed the Indomitable Snowman reindeer or carrot to the reindeer. What happens? I'm just saying, inquiring minds.
Because then there's a snowman inside the reindeer, and then the reindeer can't fly anymore because they have bad guys in their belly.
Well, not really, because if you just fed the carrot without it being, as soon as you pulled the carrot out of the snow, the snowman disintegrated. So really, in the carrot, that just destroys the carrot. It just destroys the carrot. So the reindeer probably gets indigestion. Really, nothing bad could happen.
The carrot was what was imbued with the magic, right? Like, that's why they put it into like the hazmat type container. Mm-hmm. So you do wonder, like, it's magical item. What happens if the reindeer, another magical creature, eats it? But anyway, all right. So slave food, you're still going, Stabby. So Bambo, where can we find you on the wild interwebs? And then you want to tell us about your husband, MD Boncher, who's got a sale going on?
Okay, so like I said, right now I don't have anything of my own out. I'm still working on it, but I do have a Substack. You'll find me under Bam Boncher. That's BAMBONCHER at Substack. I do have some short stories up there. Other tales of life stories. I have a nice little running commentary on my battle with rats and the chickens and other things that we experience during life in between my short stories I write. I do have a Christmas short story along those themes of Santa being the savior, the bad, the I hate to use the term badass, but it really is the best way to put it. So you said it's a PG-13 show, so there. So find me on my Substack, find my short stories. In the meantime, I also promote my husband's work. He is the author of Tales from the Dream Nebula and a Keniwazi Saga. And right now you can pick up his Keniwazi Saga books, all three in that trilogy. on a sale right now through a book funnel. It's in a group of, and with a group of other novels. I will not vouch. I do not know the authors of the other novels, so I cannot speak. But if you're looking for a good fun read for books that are on sale to the end of the year, so 12/31 is your last date to pick up some of these good price books.
All right. And with that, you can follow us, dear listener, on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree / Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, Linktree / Blasters and Blades podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChute, the Rumbles, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters, the website. We have our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page, and we have our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Madam Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. You can support the show over there at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. For as little as 99 cents a month, you can help keep the lights on. So do your part. Be sure to put in the comment section that is for the podcast. And I promise I will keep my co-host duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee till it pours out of her Santa hat. That's right. And I dig the Santa hat, by the way. The leopard print is just adding something. Very classy. It's not very traditional, but classy.
Here's the thing about this hat. There's a story behind this hat. I put this hat on to make my kid laugh when he was a baby, and I forgot it was on my head, and I walked out the store with it. And so I had to walk back into the store and explain to them I didn't mean to steal the hat, and I would like to pay for the hat. And so not only was I extremely embarrassed, but now I'm the owner of this hat, and it's become a tradition in our house that this hat has to come out every year for the Christmas season because I accidentally stole it once upon a time.
Okay. And if you want to support the show, in addition to the Buy Me a Coffee, you can go to Coffee Brand Coffee. Link is in the show notes. Podcast Grunts is the discount code. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. You help support an American company. This is not a drop shipping operation, people. This is an American company where they roast it in the continental United States. So do your part. Shop local, support the show. Every little bit helps. And with that, thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom shakalaka. All right, and with that, I'm going to hit the end button. Don't cuss yet.